Good morning. My name is Beth Colosimo, and I want to thank the organizers for the Women's Business Conference this year for inviting me to present to you. This conference and the ATHENA Awards are one of my favorite events. I look forward to it every year, and I'm glad they were able to host it this year. I'm honored to be here, and I hope that you will take one or two ideas away from my presentation that will help you move forward in your own personal or professional journey, regardless of where you are in your life or where you want to be. Also, full disclosure, this is my attempt to upskill at becoming a better public speaker and presenter. The proposed topic, Upskill Your Way to Success, which plays nicely into this year's conference theme of resilience. I decided that the best way for me to convey upskilling your way to success is by relating my own story and how upskilling throughout my career essentially helped me climb the rungs on my professional ladder despite many setbacks along the way. I ask you to consider the idea that upskilling is the pathway to resilience. I'll take you on a journey through my professional experience and the numerous unforeseen yet serendipitous events that occurred along the way. It proved to me that you can and you should upskill your way to success. I would also like to suggest that upskilling doesn't always correlate with a successful outcome initially. I've come to understand that one of the keys to upskilling for me was having a personal set of tenets, guiding beliefs that directed my many decisions and direction. For me, these tenets were purpose, principles, and passion. In the past few years, I also added perseverance, persistence, patience, and peace. I'm also going to demonstrate how upskilling through my career came full circle in more ways than one. So I started upskilling in the traditional way by pursuing a college degree. Since about the 8th grade, I wanted to pursue broadcast journalism and chose this as my major. I worked in television as an intern all the way through college. I took every opportunity I could to be around the industry, to work in TV journalism, to set myself up. After 4 years of grinding away as an unpaid intern, I became so disillusioned by the extreme sexual harassment, the lousy hours, no pay, and frankly, very few job prospects. I also came to realize these were not my people. I decided after college not to pursue this field, but I did, however, learn to communicate. I learned to overcome adversity and to stand up for myself. I also learned how to sell. I learned how to sell myself, I learned how to sell ideas, and I learned how to be convincing. What I learned in this career didn't align to my principles, my passion, or my purpose. College and graduate school were certainly part of my upskilling, but really only one small part of a much bigger upskilling through doing and trying new things. So I had a stable career and job during college in the insurance industry. While I was going to college, I worked my way up from receptionist all the way up to a degree or a career in marketing. So I was a marketing sales rep. I could sell, I could communicate, and I was a quick learner. But I hated it. I was 24 years old, talking about benefits and co-pays and handing out these giant rate increases to these small little businesses who could barely afford their premiums. I felt so badly for these small companies. They were just trying to survive. They were just trying to offer health insurance to their employees. But I loved talking to small businesses, and note the small business angle, because I'll come back to that. So at 24, I left my secure, stable, somewhat lucrative insurance career to join a small retail business to sell and trade Oriental rugs. Was I crazy? My friends and family thought so, which, by the way, isn't always a bad thing. Hey, I was 24. I had a huge interest in other countries and enormous appetite for travel. This was my path to learn about other cultures, learn a new industry and international business, to learn how to sell high-end products, and learn new skills. At the time, I had no idea what this seemingly reckless decision would lead me, but my gut told me that it was the right thing to do and that I would take something in upskilling away from this experience. The business, after all, had integrity. It aligned to my principles, to my passion, and to my purpose. This opportunity led me to travel to India, to Pakistan, and to Nepal for almost a month in the early 90s. And wow, did I upskill. The experience was so powerful and so life-changing, so educational, that it took me months to just process what I had learned. I really didn't know what I would do with this newfound knowledge. The people that I met, the experiences that I had, the sights, the smells, the scenes, they were indelible, inked in my heart and in my soul. And when I came home, my husband commented that I almost had post-traumatic stress syndrome. I just didn't know how to process all that I had experienced. It was so profound. While this career stop was short-lived and unique, I learned some very valuable skills. I learned how to sell even better. I learned how to negotiate. I learned how to think. I learned how to problem solve and overcome more adversity, to reinvent myself, and most importantly, how to take risks. I also learned how to negotiate rug deals with Afghani tribesmen at the Khyber Pass. I mean, who doesn't need that upskill, right? I also became keenly aware of what it was like to do business in an exclusively man's world, how to hold my own, and how to gain the respect as a businesswoman. So my next stop was corporate sales for a large multinational organization. In the early 80s and 90s, the telecommunications industry was going through a huge disruption with the breakup of what were called the baby bells. Some of you may remember this. All the telecom prior to 1996 was regulated and controlled by the federal government, so only a handful of companies were really competing. Everyone had service provided by a baby bell company, Mountain Bell, Southern Bell, Atlantic Bell. So telecommunications after the breakup was the new frontier. I could see there was huge, huge opportunity, and I knew that I could sell. So I started at the bottom, a commissioned sales rep calling on small businesses, small business angle again, with a monthly quota in a male-dominated field where you were given a date stamp by the existing employees on actually how long you would last. It was as cutthroat and hardcore as a sales job could be. If you could survive, the upside was extremely lucrative. There were also numerous travel opportunities, which obviously was a huge carrot for me. A few weeks into the job, I was the new girl, just trying to make friends, kind of lean into my new big corporate job. One day I was walking down the hall, and I passed one of the seasoned male colleagues, and I cheerfully said, "Hi, I'm Beth, how are you?" He stopped in his tracks, he looked me straight in the eye, and without missing a beat, he said, "If I need a friend, I'll buy a dog." Upon returning to my desk, I sat down and ready to start dialing when I heard another colleague on the phone in our cubicle farm calling from my lead list that I had left on my desk. Well, these experiences were pivotal upskilling moments. In a company where most fellow employees didn't even bother to learn your name because the turnover was so high, I either had to learn the game, improve my skills quickly, or become yet another nameless casualty. Well, over time, they did learn my name. I overcame tremendous adversity. I learned to focus on what I could control, and I believed in myself when no one else really did. I didn't get fired, I made quota, and I eventually gained the respect and recognition nationally because of my skills and my ability to sell. I went on to become one of the top national account salespeople in the entire country. I went on multiple trips. I was winner of President's Circles, Masters Awards, and I won dozens and dozens of trips, accomplishing my goal and my passion for travel. I earned the respect in my highly male-dominated career and continued to leverage my skills to take my career and opportunities to the top of my field. Traveling around places such as Greece, London, Paris, Puerto Rico, also fulfilled my personal passion and desire to see and experience the world like I had done earlier in my career in India. The indirect upskilling that I learned as a result of these global experiences would come to help me greatly, as you will see, in future steps along my journey. Before I continue with my story, and the lessons and upskills that I learned, I'd like you to reflect on these questions. What are the tenets, the creed, your code of beliefs that drive or motivate you toward personal improvement in your journey? This is where you get to get real with yourself. No one can answer this question for you. There is no right or wrong answer. No one can decide what is your personal belief system. Are you or how are you intentionally upskilling to align yourself to your guiding principles? Will your actions today ultimately lead you toward your definition of success? And if not, why are you still doing them? Do you seek opportunities to upskill for success, or are you just going along a path without any deliberate intention? So back to my story. As I said, the company I worked for was called MCI. They were on track to conquer the new frontier, the wild west of the telecommunications industry. They were becoming a behemoth, acquiring companies right and left. They got greedy. They were watching the stock price soar when along came a suitor by the name of LDDS WorldCom, a little-known company from the South that made big promises of doubling MCI's stock and making us MCIers wealthy. I was buying employee stock as fast as I could, trying to set myself up financially for the future. Little did I know that MCI WorldCom would become the second largest corporate bankruptcy in history. The executives had cooked the books. They had convinced Wall Street that their worth was far greater than it actually was, which subsequently led to the conviction and incarceration of multiple senior-level executives, including our CEO. $11 billion in fraud, 17,000 layoffs. The company no longer aligned to my principles. As a person of integrity, ethics, and principles, I could no longer associate myself with a company that cheated the country, cheated the employees, and left the sales teams holding the bag to bail them out. I left with a few remnants of my dignity, having learned what it meant to watch my personal 10-year stock portfolio of close to $1 million on paper dwindle to zero. I beat myself up pretty good for a long time over this colossal career and financial failure. I was loyal to a company that had let me down. I had not followed my own principles. Had I lost my way? Did I get caught up in the corporate greed that kept me at the company far too long? The personal and professional disappointment and devastation was another upskilling moment that I had to steady myself and determine where would I go from here. Well, I shifted gears, remaining in corporate sales, and joined a pharmaceutical company for a short time. Little did I know that when I was hired, that I would be the team to launch a new drug called Cialis. I learned everything I did and did not want to know about erectile dysfunction. You know the ads. Will you be ready when the time is right? 36 hours, one pill, competing with Viagra. Well, while driving my territory, which was Provo to St. George, every single week I'd leave the house, tears streaming down my face. I was leaving behind 2 small children week after week to go talk to rural doctors all over Utah about sexual performance issues and the new magic pill that would make all your dreams come true. Well, I quickly knew that this career move, while respectable, did not exactly align to my passion, my principles, or my purpose. Others' passion, perhaps, but not mine. Yes, I heard all the jokes over and over again. However, all that windshield time and miles of driving gave me time to envision my next move, which would lead to my own company. I decided to parlay my years of professional upskilling, lessons learned, school of hard knocks, and go into business for myself. I took all the knowledge I'd learned about retail, sales, negotiating, marketing, business, buying products, foreign markets, to create Wasatch Home Furnishings. I felt like I had amassed the skills along the many experiences I had and the confidence to put myself in the driver's seat for once, to be the leader and to start my own company. While I didn't know one thing about the furniture business, I understood what it took to take my upskills and my knowledge and into a specific industry and create my own company. The years and years of absorption, from insurance to rug trading to retail sales to telecom to Cialis, giving you 36 hours to choose when the time is right, put me in position to control my own destiny. It was the full circle of everything I had learned, easy and hard lessons that led me to take this risk and plunge into business ownership and entrepreneurism. Little did I know that the lessons were only now about to begin. A major lesson I learned in upskilling my way to success was that of relying on other people to gain the knowledge and the skills that I didn't possess. I learned everything I could about running a retail furniture business from those who were willing to teach me, which saved me quantum amounts of time, money, and infinite mistakes. You must take the initiative to utilize the resources and information to upskill your knowledge of any given topic or endeavor. Generally, others want to share their knowledge. They want to give you advice. They want to teach you the lessons that they've learned, good and bad. I would ask you to think about how you would go about learning any new upskill. Throughout my career and my multiple experiences in different industries, my mom, pictured here, and my biggest fan, she would often ask me the question, and she still does, how do you know how to do that? Where did you learn how to do all of these things? Well, the simple answer really is upskilling, taking what I knew and figuring out solutions and learning new skills all along the way. My 22-year-old daughter, Maddie, she was recently hired to do marketing and social media for a cybersecurity company. She was worried about the interview, and she told me that she probably wouldn't get hired because she didn't know anything about cybersecurity. I can't do that job. They won't hire me, she said. It reminded me that I didn't know a thing about importing Oriental rugs or telecommunications or erectile dysfunction, and I certainly didn't know anything about owning a retail home furnishings company when I took those challenges on. Most of the jobs that we take aren't because we know exactly what skills are needed to perform the job. What we take is our background, of our knowledge, previously learned skills, and our ability to think and solve problems, and to learn to apply this knowledge in a new setting, allowing us to upskill. Women especially need to stop apologizing or making excuses for why we don't possess the specific skill set and go ahead and apply. Take the initiative to learn. Today's online environment is especially full of opportunities through every possible avenue you can think of. Pinterest, YouTube, Khan Academy, LinkedIn Learning, continuing education, and certainly traditional college campus courses, degrees, and workshops. You name it, you can find it, and you can learn it. So I opened and ran and grew Wasatch Home to a thriving 20,000 square foot retail home furnishings and design company. 15 years of upskilling, and I successfully conceived, created, opened, and ran a startup, having absolutely no furniture or retail background other than the short stint I had done in retail rug sales. By 2007, I had grown Wasatch Home to an almost $2 million a year company. I learned how to do everything, to buy product, to hire, to lead a team, to merchandise showrooms, to advertise, negotiate leases, read financials, prepare marketing campaigns. I even learned how to drive my own delivery truck and deliver furniture. And then another massive blow. I was confronted with the biggest and most unforeseen challenge of my professional career, one that I had no control over and could never have predicted. I was growing my business right into the recession of 2008, which collapsed the economy, certainly the housing market, and almost all residual businesses that supported the housing market, like home furnishings. If I ever needed to rely on every creative skill I'd learned throughout my career, it was during 2008 and 2009. Sales, negotiations, finance, creative finance, relationships, advisors, human capital, grit, and my guiding tenets of passion, principles, and purpose, as well as perseverance, persistence, patience, and peace. I did not want to declare defeat. I did not want to declare bankruptcy. I knew that if I stuck to my principles of honesty and integrity, I would see my way through with a sense of purpose to do the right things by my customers, by my family, and by myself. My creativity and my willingness to learn how to run a small business in the face of adversity led me to a remarkably successful exit when I, at one time, was facing complete financial ruin. After my successful exit, I took a year off, I traveled the world for 12 months, and I eventually landed a career in economic development with EDC Utah. As I hope I've illustrated, upskilling can be a very bumpy and indirect road. I'd like to suggest that the title of this slide could also be Life During COVID. I'd also like to suggest again that having a set of foundational directives, a belief system, helps keep you from veering too far astray from your journey to success, or at least helping you get back on track. As we know, upskilling isn't always a straight and smooth line, as this humorous but accurate graphic portrays. This graphic is also a great depiction of resilience, which of course is the conference theme. As I mentioned earlier in my comments, so many of my professional experiences have come full circle. While attending this very conference a number of years ago, I ran into a professional colleague from Salt Lake Community College. That began a series of conversations, which ultimately led her to hire me as her replacement as she was planning her retirement and considering her successor. I now run entrepreneurship programs for people looking to start their own small business or grow their existing small businesses, something I learned quite a bit about. My career at Salt Lake Community College has parlayed all of the upskills that I gathered to work with hundreds and hundreds of small businesses with the Mill, our entrepreneurship center, and with Goldman Sachs' 10,000 small businesses. This work also afforded me the opportunity to return to India twice, to work with students and women in remote villages, teaching them the upskills of how to start their own small micro businesses. I had the good fortune to travel the second time with my son, seen here, to share this remarkable experience with him, to teach and share the deep culture and the gratitude that this beautiful country bestowed upon us. The mark that India left on me more than 20 years earlier now left new impressions on my soul, and yet again came full circle in my life to help me understand why the lessons I learned in the 90s were so important in shaping my future. Upskilling never became more apparent to me than when I met Salman Syed. Salman was our tour guide on the Salt Lake Community College study abroad trip that I just mentioned. Salman grew up on the streets of Mumbai. He lived and slept on the pavement. He never had the benefit of formal education. He hustled every day to feed himself and his family. From the age of 4 or 5, he learned how to better his circumstances through upskilling in anything but a traditional way. As a small child, he worked with his mother, helping her sift through trash to find plastic in garbage dumps that they could recycle and earn money. He also learned how to beg for money and food outside of the famous Haji Ali Mosque. He learned how to work to survive. In the busy intersections in Mumbai, he learned how to sell books, dodging in and out of traffic, collecting rupees through car windows at red lights. He learned how to read people. He also learned how to read book titles. And eventually, when a nonprofit came along and offered to help educate him, he started his elementary education around the age of 15. He earned high enough scores to qualify for college and eventually earned his college diploma. Overcoming these insurmountable odds, like not having a birth certificate, no identification, no papers to prove who he even was. He eventually got a birth certificate, a passport, and an opportunity through the U.S. State Department to come and study entrepreneurship in Houston. When I met Salman in India and heard his story, he told me that his dream was to come back to the United States and earn a master's degree in business. Somehow I knew that this was my new purpose and my new passion. After a year of working together over email and text messages, we made his dream come true. Salman is now living with me and my family. I'm supporting his educational dream to earn his MBA. He wants to open his own travel business and hire street kids like him to help lift them out of poverty and upskill them and their dreams of having a better life. Salman always uses the guiding principle of not letting your circumstances define or determine what you can achieve in life. I was recently in Nashville at a conference, an entrepreneurship conference. And I was walking the campus of Vanderbilt University when this building caught my eye. The sign says, "The brain is wider than the sky." It's become a little bit of a meditation and a mantra for me. And I would encourage you during these strange times of COVID not to allow outside factors and limitations hold you back from thinking big, from realizing your limitless potential, and recognizing that your brain is wider than the sky. Well, as my story has now come full circle, I would suggest that you ask yourself the question with respect to your own journey. Are you imposing your own limitations on your ability to upskill your way to success? What's holding you back? Thank you.